down the rabbit hole. Today we're going to be diving into some history. As y'all know, I'm a history nut and I love history. I believe you never stop learning because when you stop learning, ignorance starts to set in. Now, with that being said, let's dive in, shall we? If you're new here, hit that like button, ring that bell for notifications, also subscribe, help a girl out. You don't know how much the help would be, so appreciate it on that one. But today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite, if not any favorite rulers of history, and that's Queen Christina. Because I love a good independent queen. But anyway, so who is this Queen Christina of Sweden? Well, she reigned for nearly 22 years, from November 6th of 1632 to June 5th, 1654. She is remembered for her abdication and her conversion from Lutheranism to being a Catholic. So, she is also known for being an unusually well-educated woman for her time, a patron of the arts, and according to the rumors, she was a lesbian and an intersexual. She was formally crowned in 1650. So, what about her early life? What do we know about it? Well, she was born December 18, 1622, to King Gustavus Adolphus Vasa of Sweden and Maria Eleonora of Brandenburg, which is now a state in Germany. So, she was her father's only surviving legitimate child and thus the only heir. And again, I repeat, legitimate child. And her mom was a German princess, a daughter of John Sigmason, Elector of Brandenburg, and a granddaughter of Albert Frederick, Duke of Prussia. She married Gustavus Adolphus against the will of her brother George William, who had by that time succeeded to the office of the Elector of Brandenburg. So, Christina's childhood came during a long European cold spell during the Little Ice Age in the 30 Years' War. While Sweden sided with the other Protestant nations against the Habsburg Empire, a Catholic power center in Austria, her father's role in the 30 Years' War may have made the turning tide from the Catholics to the Protestants. He was considered a master of military tactics. So, and he instituted many political reforms, including expanding education and the rights of peasantry. And after his death in 1632, he was designated the Great Magnus by the Swedish estates of the realm. Now, her mom was disappointed to have had a girl, showed little affection for her, and her father was frequently away at war, and Maria Eleanor's mental state was made worse by her absences. Now, as baby Christina was subjected to many suspicious accidents, her dad ordered that she be educated as a boy. Now you gotta remember, during this time, boys and girls were not educated the same way. They did not have equal opportunities in education like we have today. But he was. But anyway, she became known for her education and her patronage of learning for the arts, and she was also referred to as the Minerva of the North, referring to the Roman goddess of arts, and the Swedish capital Stockholm became known as the Athens of the North. So, she was queen. She did become queen at 6 years old. Let's go ahead and put that out there. And her mom would describe her as being, quote, hysterical, unquote, in her grief, and was excluded from being part of the regency. That's her mom now. Keep that in mind. When Lord High Chancellor Axel Stern ruled the Sweden's region until she was of age. And he had been the advisor to Christina's father and continued that role until Christina was crowned. Now, her mom's parental rights were terminated in 1636, though Maria Eleanor continued to attempt to visit Christina, and the government tried to sell Maria's Eleanor's first in Denmark and then back in the home of Germany, but her homeland would not accept her until Christina secured her allowance for her support. So, with that being said, what about reigning? Well, even during her regency, Christina followed a mind of her own. Against her advisor, she initiated in the 30 Years' War, culminating with the Peace of Westphalia in 1648. She launched a court of learning by virtue of her patron of the arts. theater, and music in her efforts to attract French philosopher Rene Descartes, who came to Stockholm and stayed for 2 years. Now, he planned to establish the Academy of Stockholm. His plans were to establish an academy there, but it collapsed when he suddenly became ill of pneumonia and died in 1650. Now, her coronation will finally come in 1650 in a ceremony that, however, was attended by her mom. So, you might be wondering, Christina was a queen. She had to, of course, she might have to have this thing called marriage, right? Well, here's the thing. She appointed her cousin Carl Gustav as her successor. Some historians believe that she was romantically linked to him, but they never married. Would have been uncommon. Incest was a huge thing, especially in the Habsburg dynasty, for sure. Now, instead, she had a relationship with her lady in waiting, Countess Eb Spar, and it launched rumors of lesbianism. Now, surviving letters from Christina to the Countess are as far as easily described as love letters. Though it is difficult to apply modern classifications, such as lesbian, to people at this time, when such categories were not known, and we can't basically assume that this is what they were, honestly. We can't. But we just go by what. But this is like, when I say like this, we have to have it in quotes because we don't know. That's the thing. But they shared a bed at times, but this practice did not necessarily imply a sexual relationship. The Countess may the Countess married and left the court before Christina's abdication, but they continued to exchange passionate letters. Now, what led to Christina's abdication? Abdicate. Ugh, abdication. Well, difficulties with issues of taxation and governments were problematic relations with Poland, and it plagued her last years as queen. In 1661, she first proposed that she abdicate, and her council convinced her to stay, but she had some sort of breakdown and spent much of her time in her room. Now, but she finally abdicated, and officially in 1654, supposed reasons was that she didn't want to marry or want to convert to the state religion from Lutheranism to Roman Catholic, but the real motive is still argued by historians. Now, her mom opposed her abdication, and Christina provided that her mom's allowance would be secure, even um, without her daughter ruling Sweden. So, Christina would now call herself Maria Christina Alexandra, left Sweden a few days after her official abdication, and traveling disguised as a man when her mom died in 1655. She was living in Brussels and she made her way to Rome, where she lived in a palazzo filled with art, books, and history in a culture of salon. In a culture as a salon. Now she had converted to Roman Catholic by this time, and the former queen became a favorite of the Vatican in her religious battle for the hearts and minds of the 17th century. She was aligned with a free-thinking branch of the Roman Catholic, and she embroiled herself in political and religious intrigue. First, between the French and the Spanish factions in Rome. What about the failed schemes? Well, in 1656, Christina will launch an attempt to become Queen of Naples. A member of Christina's household, a Marquis Montedesco, betrayed her plans of Christina and the French and the Spanish viceroy in Naples. Now, she retaliated by having him executed in her presence, but for the fact she was sometime marginalized in Roman society, though she eventually began to involve again in church politics. In another failed attempt, Christina would have to make herself Queen of Poland. Her confidant and advisor, Cardinal Decio Azoglio, was rumored to be her lover, and in one scheme, Christina had attempted to win the papacy of Ozolino. So, in 1656, she would launch an attempt to become Queen of Naples, a member of Christina's Naples. So, but a member of her house, anyway, we talked about this one. In another fell scheme, let's see. Now, Christina would die April 19th, 1869, having named Cardinal Aslanto as her sole heir, and she was buried at St. Peter's Basilica, which was an unusual honor for a woman. Now, let's talk about her legacy for a minute. Her abnormal interest in pursuits of normal reserved for males, occasionally dressed in male attire, persistent stories of her relationship had led to disagreements among historians. Now, in 1965, her body was exhumed and they had her tested to see if she had signs of hermaphroditism or intersexuality. The results were inconclusive, and they indicated that her skeleton was typically of female structure. Now, her spans Renaissance Sweden to Baroque Rome left a record of a woman who, through privilege and strength and character, challenged what it meant to be a woman in this area, and she also left behind her thoughts and her letters, maxims, and unfinished autobiography, and notes of the margins into her books. So, that is Queen Christina of Sweden. There's truly so much you could do a full video episode on this, but we really don't have that much time in general. But we had to go down the rabbit hole and talk about her. What do y'all think of her? Should she have abdicated? What do y'all think really led to her abdication? I heard rumors that it was just like her being a Catholic and everything, and there was a whole thing on that one. But anyway, that is it for this episode. Join me. So, our next few episodes, we're going to be talking about Jeannie Jerome, Georgina Cavendish, and the origins of the Cabra. I personally don't believe in them, but anyway. But those are our next three episodes, and I do have several more planned after that. I really need this full time job. Anyway,